Have you ever heard of a gift so outrageous, so audacious, that it plunged an entire empire into civil war? It wasn't gold, jewels, or land, but a public declaration that would forever change the course of Roman history. This is the story of the donations of Alexandria, the ultimate power play by Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and the moment their love story turned into a declaration of war against Rome itself. Let's set the scene. The year is 34 BC. The city is Alexandria, the dazzling heart of Ptolemaic Egypt. Mark Antony, one of the three most powerful men in Rome, has just returned from a mixed but ultimately successful military campaign in the east. But instead of returning to Rome for a traditional triumph, he decides to celebrate in Alexandria. This was his first mistake. A Roman triumph was a sacred, time-honored tradition that could only be held in Rome. To hold one elsewhere was a slap in the face to the Senate and the Roman people. But Antony wasn't just planning a party, he was planning a revolution. In the heart of the city, at the Grand Gymnasium, two golden thrones were placed on a silver platform. On one sat Antony, dressed not as a Roman general, but as the Greek god Dionysus. On the other sat Cleopatra, embodying the goddess Isis. It was a spectacle of unparalleled grandeur, designed to showcase their combined power. Below them, on smaller thrones, sat their children, the twins Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and the youngest, Ptolemy Philadelphus. And next to them sat Caesarion, Cleopatra's eldest son. Her child was the one and only Julius Caesar. The crowd watched, mesmerized, but they were about to witness something far more shocking than just opulent thrones and divine costumes. Antony stood and began to speak. What he said next sent shockwaves all the way to Rome. He declared Cleopatra the Queen of Kings and Caesarion the King of Kings. He confirmed Caesarion as the true, legitimate son and heir of Julius Caesar. This was a direct challenge to Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and heir, whose entire claim to power rested on that very inheritance. Antony was essentially saying, you, Octavian, are a fraud. The real heir to Caesar is right here. But Antony didn't stop there. He then proceeded to give away vast territories of the Roman East, lands that Rome had fought and bled for. He proclaimed his own son, Alexander Helios, as the ruler of Armenia, Parthia, and Media kingdoms Antony had barely managed to subdue or hadn't even conquered yet. His daughter, Cleopatra Selene, was made ruler of Cyrenaica and Libya, and to his youngest son, Ptolemy Philadelphus, just a toddler, he gifted Phoenicia, Syria, and Cilicia. Antony was carving up the eastern half of the Roman sphere of influence and handing it over to his children with a foreign queen. Imagine the scene from a Roman perspective. This wasn't just a political announcement, it was a theatrical performance of betrayal. Antony, a Roman hero, was acting like an Eastern monarch, bestowing kingdoms upon his foreign family as if they were his personal property. He was sitting on a golden throne next to a woman many Romans viewed as a seductive, dangerous enchantress who had already ensnared Julius Caesar. Now, she had Antony under her spell, and together they were creating a rival empire. To the proud citizens of Rome, this was the ultimate humiliation. News of the donations of Alexandria traveled fast, and back in Rome, Antony's rival, Octavian, couldn't have asked for a better gift. For years, Octavian had been waging a propaganda war against Antony, painting him as a man who had abandoned his Roman virtues, his Roman wife, who happened to be Octavian's own sister Octavia, and had gone native, completely bewitched by the Egyptian queen. The donations were the perfect proof. Octavian had the ammunition he needed to turn public opinion decisively against Antony. Octavian went straight to the Senate. He depicted Antony not as a misguided Roman, but as a traitor. He claimed Antony planned to move the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to Alexandria. He portrayed Cleopatra not just as a foreign queen, but as a grave threat to Roman identity, a monarch who wanted to rule over Rome. He spun a narrative of Antony as a puppet and Cleopatra as the puppet master, pulling the strings to build her own Eastern Empire on the ashes of the Roman Republic. The story was simple, effective, and terrifying to the Roman populace. The final nail in Antony's political coffin came when Octavian illegally seized Antony's will from the Temple of Vesta. He read its contents aloud to the Senate and the public. that were reportedly confirmed everything Octavian had been saying. It officially recognized Caesarion as Caesar's heir, left lavish legacies to his children by Cleopatra, and, most damningly, expressed his wish to be buried not in Rome, but in Alexandria beside Cleopatra. This was the point of no return. To be buried outside of Rome was an unthinkable betrayal for a man of Antony's stature. It was seen as the ultimate rejection of his homeland. The Senate was enraged. Public fury reached a fever pitch. Antony, the once celebrated general, was now viewed as an enemy of the state. The donations of Alexandria, followed by the reading of the will, had successfully transformed a political rivalry into a clash of civilizations: Rome versus Egypt, West versus East, Octavian versus Antony and Cleopatra. The Senate stripped Antony of his powers and, in a clever political move, declared war not on Antony, which would have officially started another civil war, but on Cleopatra. Antony was framed as a man under the thumb of a foreign enemy. By siding with her, he was, by extension, siding against Rome. The lines were drawn. The final conflict of the Roman Republic was now inevitable. The donations of Alexandria were, in essence, a massive gamble that backfired spectacularly. Antony and Cleopatra may have intended to solidify their power in the East and secure a dynasty for their children. They wanted to create a Greco-Roman kingdom, a new kind of empire that blended the strengths of both cultures. In their vision, Alexandria would be a co-capital, a center of power to rival Rome. But they severely underestimated the pride and paranoia of Rome and the cunning of Octavian. Their grand ceremony was not seen as the birth of a new world order, but as an act of treason. Antony's gift wasn't a strategic distribution of power, it was the giveaway of a Roman birthright. It gave Octavian the moral high ground and the popular support he needed to launch his final assault. The path from the Golden Thrones in Alexandria led directly to the waters of Actium, where the fleets of Octavian and the combined forces of Antony and Cleopatra would clash in one of history's most decisive naval battles. The aftermath of that battle is legendary. Defeated and pursued, Antony and Cleopatra returned to Alexandria, where they would ultimately take their own lives. Octavian emerged as the undisputed master of the Roman world, sweeping away the old republic and ushering in the age of the Roman Empire, with himself as its first emperor, Augustus. The children who had been promised kingdoms were paraded through the streets of Rome in Octavian's triumph, symbols of his victory. So, the next time you think of a gift gone wrong, remember the donations of Alexandria. It was a calculated risk, a bold vision of a shared future between two of history's most famous lovers. But in the end, it was a gift that gave their greatest enemy exactly what he needed to destroy them and reshape the world. It was the moment a love story ended and an empire began. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Roman history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next video. See you next time.